Big updates here from the ground. There's 10 flips now for McCarthy, and most notably Chip Roy of Texas, who had been holding out, and Scott Perry of Pennsylvania has voted for Speaker McCarthy to be Speaker. And Congressman Perry is joining us live right now with more reaction on today's momentum for Kevin McCarthy. It's the 12th vote. Congressman, great to have you in. Day 4, as America's been watching. Obviously, we know you had been holding out, but you did just move your vote and vote for Kevin McCarthy. Tell us first off, what was the defining factor here? What made you change your vote today, sir?
Well, look, we're at a critical time for our country, and I've long said, and most people have said, that Washington is broken. It's not working for the American people. But when you lay out your plan, and I've been working towards this since the summertime, when you lay out your plan, maybe it takes a couple days past where you want it to be, which is where we are now. But when you get to the place where you're getting the things that you've asked for, we've got a framework for an agreement. We got to tidy some things up, but in good faith. If you're negotiating in good faith, and the person you're or the side that you're negotiating with is doing so in good faith, then it's time to continue to show the good faith when you have an opportunity and say, yes, if you're willing to go here to make these transformative changes to this body that will make a difference for the American people, then I'm willing to go there with you to show the good faith. So that's what that vote today shows, that in the interest of good faith, based on the framework of our negotiations, that's how I cast my vote.
Now take us to the moment, Congressman, when your mind changed. What was the key piece of this deal that made you and Chip Roy and Anna Paulina Luna and Byron Donalds and some of these other folks that we've heard so much from about why they wouldn't support Kevin McCarthy? What was the key component here that changed everyone's minds?
Well, it's actually not one key component, it's many, but we've been working for days and days, obviously, early in the morning, late at night.
Let me ask it this way. What was the tipping point? If it wasn't just one thing, at what point did everyone really feel like this deal came together?
I think the tipping point for probably a lot of people is when you put it all on paper and you get an agreement from that side. This is the stuff that you have written on your paper. You have written it, and you hand it to them, and you say, do you agree to this? And when they say yes, well, how can you say no?
You've been saying, trust but verify, and we're hearing all these, conversations that were going on that we were not privy to, but you were there. So share with us sort of what it was like hammering this out, and what you sort of had to do to negotiate this this momentous move here today for McCarthy. What was it? Tell us a little bit about what the conversations were like.
Well, the conversations, quite honestly, are very different, difficult. As you know, the Republican conference is a very diverse spectrum of viewpoints and attitudes, and quite honestly, positions on things like how conservative one is. Some of the big things for me was accountability, invested in what's called the motion to vacate. One person should be able to make that motion. It takes the majority to vote for it, but one person should be able to make that motion, because the Speaker is the most powerful person in the building, and the Speaker needs to be accountable to the American people and the members. So that was really important. Of course, what's happening fiscally to our country, what just happened about 15 days ago, 4,000 pages dumped at 2 o'clock in the morning, $1.7 trillion, 7,200 earmarks. We are sick and tired of that. There's got to be the tools in place to stop that. And when I felt like we had the tools in place to stop that, I think that's a really good place. You're going to see things differently than we've seen for the last 10, 20 years. And then finally, let's get some conservatives on some really important committees that have not been allowed to serve on those committees in the past. These are all really remarkable changes. And look, they don't come easy. They're resisted mightily by the swamp, the uniparty, and the status quo here that wants to maintain the status quo. But when you break through the logjam, well, shoot, you got to say, well, we've broken through. Isn't this what we've wanted? Isn't this what we've worked for? And so at that moment, when you hand that paper across and they read through it and say, well, yeah, we can do this, well, there you are.
Did you think you would get there, like, let's say 24 hours ago? Did you think that this was possible, Congressman?
It sure did look like it. Let me tell you, I started in the summertime with this negotiation, and that's the most heartbreaking thing for me, quite honestly. all of this drama that's unfolding before the American people right now, completely unnecessary. We could have handled this. Look, the people in the room were negotiating their positions in good faith as well. If we'd have just started this back when I started it, this wouldn't even be an issue. So, but sometimes it takes the pressure of what's happening on that floor right now to get to an agreement this historic.
Yeah, and some people probably wanted to try and bank any momentum they may have got from the midterm elections, which never materialized for folks like Kevin McCarthy and some of these other folks in leadership based on the results of that. I also want to talk about what happens moving forward. You know, there's been a lot of critics of this process who say, you know, this has really damaged the ability of the Republican Party in the House to hold the Biden administration to account. Do you see that as accurate, or is that unfair?
No, that's completely ridiculous. What's important is that we get it right from the start, so that over the 2 years that we have in this Congress, we spend opposing, revealing, exposing, and holding accountable the Biden administration, not fighting amongst ourselves. So if it takes 3 or 4 days at the beginning, where we iron out these differences so that we can be unified in our opposition to the Biden administration and the left destroying our country, that's a great win for the American people.
And, you know, some of these concessions that were made, you listed some of them. And was there one that was particular? You mentioned the motion to vacate, but this is a whole host of things that he's agreed to.
Yes.
The term limits, was there one that he particularly pushed back on, or anything you can, you know, what can you share with us and our audience, the things that were the most contentious, perhaps?
Yeah, you don't want to, I don't think it's really fair in good faith to talk about emotions and different people's opposition to things in negotiations if you're going to be an honest broker and a fair negotiator. I think the general characterization is that the status quo just fights to maintain the status quo, and it takes some hard stances sometimes and some courage to push against that. I've always kept a good attitude. I've gone with a smile gone in with a smile on my face. I've always been respectful, but I stand firm on what I believe in, and I fight for it. And look, you don't get 100% of everything, but if you get the majority of something, at some point you have to declare victory. The other person has a perspective too, and that's reasonable. And that's what we did on all sides. It's been a very, look, as ugly as the sausage making looks to the outside, inside among colleagues, it's actually been pretty good.
In the succession, this is a very important position. Third in line to the president. It's a Republican, where we have a White House that is Democratic, and, you know, Vice President Kamala Harris, then the Speaker. Do you have full confidence now in, it looks like if he does pull through, Speaker McCarthy, to do what you wanted, to carry out his duties as you wanted him to do in accordance of some of these, I'll say, demands that you had put on his plate?
I think what we have are the tools in place where this majoritarian body can function correctly with the right leadership and the right rules in place to do what we need to do to curb spending and to set the agenda for the American people. Once again, the things that they want, the things that they sent us to do. I think it's a complete package, not one person or one rule or one bill makes the difference, but all those things put together. And I think that that's what we have right now. It's kind of like a recipe, and we had some parts of the recipe were okay, some parts needed a little work. That's what we worked on, and now it's a more complete package. It's probably not perfect, but it probably never will be.
Mm-hmm.
Congressman, I know this doesn't apply to you, but some people might say, hey, look, the weekend was right around the corner. We know Love Congress. They got to get home as well. But, you know, if the votes aren't secured, there is some concern about what happens when members go home and maybe talk to their constituents, because I know there is a strong appetite among a lot of constituents not to go for Kevin McCarthy. If you were going to talk to any of your constituents who were not a fan of Kevin McCarthy, they're maybe surprised by your turn of events, what would you tell them? What message would you be to those folks?
I would tell them, whether you're buying a house or buying a car or working in business, you don't have to love the person, you don't have to marry the person or go to dinner with the person that you're negotiating with. But what you should do is negotiate in good faith. And if you get what you're needing in your negotiation, if you get what you're asking for, the personality needs to be out of it. It's about doing the business, and the business is that of the American people. And so I try and keep the personalities out of this. I've done that all along, and this is reflective of that moment.
Yeah, and so we have 13 people who have now flipped. We're getting so very close to that 218 threshold. 14 now, I'm being told. 14 people have flipped. So we really do have, we've seen movement. You know, this is kind of the opposite. Yesterday we thought we might see 10. We didn't see anybody move. Today they were kind of soft pedaling that, and now it's as many as 14 people that have flipped.
Congressman Perry, during this whole process too, you know, you did stand firm. You were holding out. Tell us about how hard was that for you? I'm sure there was immense pressure, you know, from other folks, and even Donald Trump weighing into this, making sort of his backing of McCarthy known.
Yeah, look, there is enormous pressure here, which is why the status quo remains as it is, and it is very, very difficult. But you got to believe in who you are, what your foundation is. Of course, my foundation begins with the good Lord above, and I know what I was sent here to do. It wasn't to please the people in this room; it's to please the people in my district and across America. And so, as long as I keep that in mind and keep my faith in the good Lord above, I know I'm on the right track, and that's just what I do. And so, you know, I am buttressed with the armor of those things, and like I said, I keep a smile on my face, I keep my eye on the prize, and I keep just working towards it.
All right, so another big update. Paul Gosar, of course, very conservative member of the Freedom Caucus. He is now supporting Kevin McCarthy. Just to give our audience at home some indication on how much the momentum has shifted in favor of Kevin McCarthy. Paul Gosar, a guy who we saw nominate, I think, Andy Biggs on the first day, if I'm not mistaken.
You are right.
He is now in Kevin McCarthy's camp as well. Congressman Scott Perry, General Scott Perry, great to see you as always. Thank you, sir, for your insights and giving us a little peek behind the scenes on how this deal was worked out. We appreciate it.
Great to see you. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congressman Perry.